Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.
All right. So last week, I think we had a pretty good discussion around the idea of refinement, of this idea of renunciation, renouncing essentially unhealthy habits, conditioning that we have that we've been drawn to, and refining the ability to make choices that allow us to live in a more full way, a lot more freedom, a lot more sense of self-worth, and a lot more understanding of how we exist in the world, what actually supplies a sense of value and meaning and purpose in life. And what we call genuine happiness, this sense of well-being, this knowledge that we have some purpose and meaning, that what we do matters, that we have a lot to offer the world. And the refinement being not, I have to stop doing this, but the refinement more of a process of learning, I feel much better when I do this, you know, and it becomes much more a way of living and understanding. And a big part of that is exploring what's the real cause of happiness, what's the real cause of suffering, how do I exist, who am I? Simple questions. And so in the where we're at in the text, in these six perfections, we get generosity and we move into ethics and patience. And so last week I talked about how those two work together. But fundamentally, it's important for us to explore from our own side. We don't read something and go, well, this is the way it is. Not a very good scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you have a question, we seek. Very few people get to a Dharma center or a recovery center or a mindfulness center because their life's all, peaches and cream. We get here because we have suffered. We are wanting to understand how to live more fully and how to really engage in life and see if we can overcome some afflictions. And that's really where the Buddha started. He saw the suffering of the world. And he had a question. Is this necessary? Is all this necessary? Do people need to get stuck in a cycle of birth, age, sickness, and death? That's not very fun, huh? Hey, here's your life. You're gonna age, get sick, and die. It's hopefully have some fun in there too. Uh, and uh, and so that was his big exploration. He left everything to seek that answer. And so he went through, all these years of asceticism and training and that whole mind over body thing. We don't eat and you endure physical hardships. You kind of conquer the mind, this force. And you discover that really wasn't it. And years of that. And then there came a spot where he learned what's called the middle way. And then he unified his practice in this middle way and essentially woke up. And his answer was that this is unnecessary. So his answer is all this mental, emotional suffering we deal with in this human form, totally unnecessary. And we suffer because we don't understand, basically. We're confused. And if we actually are not confused, we wouldn't have to deal with all this nonsense. So in this path that he offered, this path of liberation, Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, it basically offered some methods, some understanding of how we exist, a hypothesis that we can explore, and then some activities to engage in to refine ourselves to being more accurate And so essentially all of Buddhism is about wisdom. It's about truth. So Dharma roughly translates truth. And so Dharma is found not in just Buddhism. There's truth in different religions. There's truth in scientific exploration. So truth, how things is Dharma. Uh, in a Buddhist teaching, it'd be Buddha Dharma, but there's Hindu Dharma, Jewish Dharma. So there's Dharma. There's going to be truth in all these things. Indigenous people, have Dharma, and it's taught, but it's pointing at realization and understanding of truth from our to the best of our approximation. And so that's kind of nice to know because I like the idea of not having to believe something. I like to come to a sense of faith that's based on evidence. And and so one of the primary teachings of Buddha is to never take anything we say on faith, but to test it, try it out, see what's right for you. And so all of these explorations, these practices that we engage in, we have to take a hypothesis and you test it, just like would scientifically. And one of them is, pretty simple, that all happiness comes from virtue and all unhappiness comes from non-virtue. Straightforward hypothesis. But when they're talking about happiness, then what kind of happiness are we talking about? Are we talking about uh, the joy I got from terrorizing my monk friends, taking them on a roller coaster that they had no idea that they were getting into? That was joyful, but probably not the kind of lasting happiness. That's a whole story I'll tell you sometime. That's getting even. Um, but temporary stimulus-driven pleasure is not the happiness we're talking about. Temporary stimulus-driven pleasure, such as Laura's drinking. What are you drinking? Is it pleasurable? Okay, so having a pleasurable experience there. That'll come and go, right? But may have really no lasting impact on a sense of self-worth, value. So this genuine happiness is much deeper. It's a sense of knowing that we have value. It's a sense of worthiness. It's an understanding of the ups and downs of life, and that we have a deep sense of value, and we're capable, and that whatever's coming our ways, no problem. It's just showing us what we get to participate in. That sense of joy, and it's a joy that's often related to stimulus-driven pleasure, kind of like the joy like a grandparent has when a grandkid does something like really generous or nice, and just have this joy. It's my grandkid doing that, or you see someone who's not even related to you, and you see them doing something. You have this joy. It's not about you at all, really, and that kind of joy that can come up, with these opportunities and the ability to meet life as life shows up. So that kind of mental and emotional balance, way of engaging with an ease. So that's the kind of thing that comes from virtue. Doesn't mean you're going to get rich. Doesn't mean these other things. The internal sense of well-being, balance, and the Greek word they use all the time is eudaimonia, this inner flourishing that Aristotle, Plato talked about, this inner flourishing. And so that was all based. So it's not just Buddhism. If you look at all the major religions, if you look at classical Greek and Roman philosophy and all that, you're going to see virtue is going to play a role in the sense of genuine happiness. In other words, when we do things we feel good about who we are. And when I do things I don't feel good about, I don't feel so good about who I am, right? I have something I'm ashamed of, something I don't feel good about. And so this is a theory we can test, right? And at the core of the cause of suffering and this misperception, we often find a real foundational, it's just insecurity. There's a lot to be insecure about, right? You're gonna be warm enough. You're gonna get your needs met. We're in this human form and I'm independent and separate from you. Lots of things to worry about, things that get, with my relationship gonna be okay? And, my friends, what's my life? I mean, just think about what would your life be like if you had no anxiety? I mean, Venerable Tenzin Priyadarshi threw that line out once and it just blew my mind. He just said, what would it be like? How would you be if you had no anxiety whatsoever? And you could just show up to whatever and not be anxious about what somebody might think about you or whether this or that happens or just, it's there. So what would our life be like if we were more secure, less insecure? And insecurity is very subtle, very sneaky. So out of this sense of sort of insecurity and a misunderstanding, we kind of grab onto things in our life to make us happy. And often we're grabbing onto the wrong things because that's not the source of happiness. There's nothing wrong with having nice things. We just need to know, do they play a role in contributing to the quality of well-being that I'd like in life or not? And is my identity tied up to having things go my way or not? In other words, am I hoping to get lucky a lot every day in life? Have the car not break down, have people like me, and, things work out in a particular way, and then maybe I can be happy. And yet we can look around and see that people have a lot of resources and they're not very happy. Pretty sure there's a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists in Aspen who are doing quite well. Because we have mental health issues, so, resources aren't necessarily going to solve that. And so in this hypothesis, that there's two things that we can do that will radically change our lives. One of them is to just live more in virtue, not do things that are virtuous, that you feel good about, that are ethical, that contribute to the world we live in. And we can do that. You don't have to judge everybody. Don't have to blame people for making me mad because they're not the cause of your anger. That's the wisdom part. We'll get to that maybe. And so one thing I can do is start recognizing the opportunity to be a person I feel good about more often. Have some purpose, virtue. And then wisdom is to start to understand true causes of happiness and suffering. It's a good place to start, right? So I would like to test these theories. I would test, where's my happiness come from? Where's my suffering come from? And this is where I usually bring up the analogy of the suffering Laura must be going through, having heard me say this teaching about 100,000 times and trying to find it interesting. How you doing with that?
Part of my practice.
Okay, good, okay.
Lots of merit, patience.
Awesome. Sona, okay. So, if we can look at somebody we don't like, right? And we can just label them. They're that kind of person. Or they're the cause of my anger, right? They're annoying. I usually use the annoying one. I think that works really well. Sorry, Laura. So, anybody here know an annoying person? Okay. Usually there's a few giggles and so, yeah, I know that guy. And then the real quick test is that person actually annoying? Because there are no annoying people in the world. That just doesn't work, actually. If there was an annoying person in the world, they would annoy everybody all the time. Any room they came in, People will be annoyed. But that person I find annoying, someone else finds interesting. Somebody even likes them. Someone might even marry them, God knows why, right? And most people at least have a mother who will stick up for you, right? So where's the annoying, right? It's not in the person. It's in how I'm perceiving the person. Annoying's here, not there. So if we go around the world trying to avoid annoying people, you know what you're going to run into? A lot of annoying people, because I'm reifying that people like that are annoying. Therefore, whenever I'm around people like that, I'm annoyed. It's not very effective. But if I recognize that annoying is a mental emotional state that's within me, and it's based on my judgments and labeling around people and how they should be, and how other people should, of course, be born and do things that make me feel good. And they're so misguided so often. I'm not going to be so, you know, annoyed if I realize that's not the way the world works. So if I can start getting to the root of my annoyance, which is my own insecurity and fear and my own desires for my needs to be met, my own self-centeredness and how other people should act so I could be happy, maybe I can start working on that. Like maybe that's not very effective. And I start to understand, annoyances within me. And to take this a step further, to really understand that how you experience the world is a very personal, subjective thing. Nobody's experiencing the same objective world out there. You're all experiencing a different John. Everybody experiences a different Laura. Whatever it is, we all have our own experience and we see someone through our lens of our conditioning and the way our mind configures who we're seeing. Some people like me, some people don't like me. Some people think my jokes are funny. Laura does not. Um, it's just the way it is. And so when you start to realize that how I'm experiencing the world is a very subjective thing, and what's arising in my mind, has a lot to do with me, not just what's out there. And another example is real kind of understanding about how we misunderstand things is, this shirt, right? It's maroon. Yeah, see it as maroon. Okay, it's really not. It's made up of molecules, right? And molecules have no color. So actually, there's no maroon here. Just the way your mind perceives color, right? There's molecules that have no color. There's photons. The photons don't have color, and the refraction of light and so forth. This image hits our eyes, our sense things, and our mind, the way it constructs, sees a color, and then we got a label maroon, but the molecules in here have no color. Photons have no color. Color's not in those objects. That's just physics, nothing magical there. You can look it up on ChatGPT. Um, and but what we start to understand is like some people are colorblind. They're not saying maroon at all because it's hitting it differently. And different way you would see a different shade here as well. So we start to understand that basically our mind, our senses take in information and then our mind makes sense of it. Then we engage in the world in that way. But it's not how the world actually exists. It's just the way it's making sense to me based on my conditioning and whether or not I can see and whether or not I can hear and how those conditions ripen. That's why some people like certain foods and other people like different foods. It's not the food that's delicious. Unless it's cherry pie, in which case that's the one exception. So God, I couldn't stop myself. So So if we start to understand, then, okay, well, now maybe I can start understanding that how I attend to the world has a lot more to do with my happiness than what I'm just directly experiencing. Is that person really annoying, or is that another human being like me who has other qualities? Um, and if I'm not an annoyance as a man, where's my judgment around them? And I imagine that they do many things all day long I would not find annoying. I mean, like sleeping, I would probably, unless they snore. But so how I'm attending to someone's going to have a very different experience. Is that another person like me trying to be okay? Things along. Have I ever been annoying to somebody? And then we start, going, okay, wait a minute. What I'm always having is a subjective experience that has a lot to do with me as well as what's coming in. It's coming in. Then, you can start to work with virtue. How do I attend to somebody seeing that they have some value? And if they're doing something harmful, that's a harmful behavior. We hold that accountable, but that doesn't make them a terrible person. Makes them a person struggling in pain who are doing something, and we attend to what they're doing in a way that might be more skillful than if I just think they're a terrible person, hate them, and carry a lot of resentment with me. I've done a lot of terrible things in my life, and I've also done some good things. Pretty sure most of us have all done that. I mean, I bet you're all liars, right? I'm in a room full of liars. Even online, right? You got a bunch of liars, aren't you? Yeah, right, Richard. Yeah, step up. And yet, I'm going to call someone else a liar. It's pretty funny. Jimmy, he's a liar. Yeah, as is every other human being I've ever met. You're also truthers, right? Tell the truth sometimes, right? Yeah, we all tell the truth. That word has a whole nother connotation these days, doesn't it? But we've all told the truth. We've told lies. So has everybody else. So exploring, how my emotional pain and suffering is how I judge people, I experience people, and how much of that's just coming from some insecurity. Wanting people to be different, not sure my needs are going to get met, comparing myself with others, and, having these desires to be accepted or, get certain things, have people like me, whatever that is. Feeling less than. It's a big form of insecurity. And so maybe there's a journey to discover that there's nothing to be insecure about. You have value, you have worthiness like everybody else. You all have something that you're better at than other people. You all have some things to improve like everybody else. In other words, just like me, all others are trying to find happiness. Just like me, all others are trying to avoid suffering. Just like me, all others have known hardships, suffering, difficulties. Just like me, all others are trying to get their needs met. And just like me, all others deserve compassion. Now, what if that was my framework? None of us are broken. We've all done some things we don't feel good about. We've done some things we feel good about. What if we learned then that what I'm really looking for isn't based in validation or achievement or those things out there? But what I'm looking for is a sense of worthiness and value that is achieved by doing things that are worthy and valuable. And I've just never learned those skills. So I can just start learning them better. Be that person a little bit more often. So back to ethics then, virtue. We can test. When I do things I feel good about that are virtuous, how do I feel about myself? When I do things that go against that, how do I feel about myself? Wisdom. When I start labeling people and things and events and sources of happiness in ways that can't provide it, which, by the way, is nothing wrong with a stimulus-driven pleasure. I mean, I don't know why hot chocolate with whipped cream just popped in my mind, but That was just the rose. Might need to get some. We'll see how that goes. There's snow outside, fire, hot chocolate. Just saying. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so there's nothing wrong with enjoying the pleasure. Just where the misperception is, that's the source of our happiness instead of a temporary pleasure that we can enjoy. But you can turn it into a genuine happiness by sharing it with someone. You can turn it into a genuine happiness by recognizing you deserve it. Some hot chocolate today. You worked hard. It's nice. Why not? So why we're doing what we're doing is going to have a lot more to do with our happiness than what we are doing. Am I doing it in a self-centered way? Is it grasping and a clinging? Or am I doing it with an understanding of this incredible life and I get to have and how many people are involved in my hot chocolate? A lot of people are involved in my hot chocolate. When you think about where it originated, how many steps and how many people were involved in the travel and the streets it had to travel on. How do they turn it into powder anyway? I'm not sure. But, how many people's livelihood, how many people were supported because of this hot chocolate and that I get to drink and maybe have some gratitude that all these people put their lives together and worked for something and they all have children to feed and things to do and gave rise to a hot chocolate I get to drink today. It'd be a pretty virtuous cup of hot chocolate. Not even getting to the whipped cream part. What's the mind I'm bringing to my activities and how do I live around? Because, of course, I could think it's my hot chocolate and totally forget about all the people that made it available to me or all the people that gave rise to everything in my life so that I could buy a hot chocolate. My mind just went to Ghirardelli Square, San Francisco hot chocolate. Oh, talk about stimulus-driven pleasure. No, we went with a family, so it's probably virtuous. Get the grandkids some hot chocolate. I was there for them. I'm willing to persevere, take them out. So back to this hypothesis, and what if I started to understand that how I exist is very interdependent and everything I have in my life is because of countless others. And I have a role to play in this world, and what I do has an impact, and what others have done is an impact. And then start to understand my thoughts, feelings, emotions have a lot to do with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions I tend to water, nurture, and grow. The inputs I take in and how I attend to people. I wake up every day and recognize there's a day that's coming right here today, never happening again. This little group here, never happening again. Never happening again. I'll be online. This is the way that we're doing this, never happening. It'll come and it'll go. And they're in limited supply. What if I recognize, every day that comes is a day that comes only once? And ask me, how would I like to live it? How would I like to live in a day that comes only once? Orientating my mind to reality instead of, man, I gotta get through another day. That will never come again in my life that's filled with opportunities to grow, learn, and be a better human being and add to the quality of my life. Yeah, I have to endure that. It's terrible. How I'm attending to the world has a lot to do with how I get to experience the world. So we've got the virtue, we've got the wisdom. The problem is we'll forget all that in about a half hour after this talk, more than likely, especially if you're just all going out for hot chocolate. But then you might remember. This might be a good story. So in between virtue and wisdom is concentration, the training of concentration, of mindfulness. So I remember that I don't lose my mind all day long. So that's what happens. I lose my mind. I get caught up in things. I really think that person's annoying and that person's making me mad. And people are in my way on the roads, because they should not be in my way on the roads. Nobody should be. That's crazy. And let alone working on the highway when I have to be somewhere. That's pretty inconvenient. They should have checked. And just the whole myriad of losing your mind, as though I'm the center of the universe and, things should be the way I think they should be. And so concentration is where we just did a meditation where we're training our attention and noticing when our mind wanders off so I can bring it back. So that's the glue, right? So ethics, concentration, and wisdom are the three higher trainings, three categories of the Eightfold Path of liberation. So the Buddha identified, the problem, and then the solution is the Eightfold Path. And the three higher trainings are ethics, concentration, wisdom. And you don't have to be a Buddhist to recognize that you can live with more ethics in alignment with your values, have a mind that's not wandering all the time, and be a little wiser and have an improved quality of life. No matter what your belief system is. You can test it. So that's the thing to explore. And in this journey, it's taking a practice every day of training the attention. Cultivating some gratitude in the morning, training the attention, and then making a decision to work on a certain attitude every day. Like, I'm going to see all people I meet today as an old dear friend. Like, it's a good practice. It's a real good practice. And for me, I found it to be very helpful. People I don't even know. Old dear friend, how you doing today? Really changes an interaction. Maybe, whatever that is, we pick something to work on. We pick an attitude to bring to mind and test our hypothesis. But I need to remember, so I need to keep bringing my mind back. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be nice to that person. Maybe I keep bringing that to mind. And then the wisdom starting to notice how this interaction shifts and start realizing that a lot of things that I pointed out there is that it's not really the cause of how I'm experiencing life. It's a condition that gives rise to it. It's a secondary condition, right? Somebody's being mean to you and yelling at you. That's going to have a pretty difficult event. But I mean, I've had people scream at me in intense rage and found it helpful, actually. Because I saw that they were suffering. Like that was a big breakthrough once, is that they were just full on yelling at me, rageful in front of I was a high school teacher, a bunch of students, and they was just going off. I thought that was rather unprofessional, by the way. But he's just yelling, man. And but he yelled long enough that, I didn't have time to, he just kept yelling that. I saw him suffering and I realized, wow, he's suffering. That's why he's yelling. And when he got done, I finally said, I'm sorry. Can we talk about this? What can we do? Then we had a great conversation. Turned out to be a friend and a colleague for many years after that. But if I just got defensive because he's yelling at me for something I didn't do in front of a bunch of people being real, unprofessional, what kind of response could I have had? Because initially I was getting that response. He just kept yelling. He yelled long enough for me to get a vision instead of a non-virtuous reaction. Right? So the conditions, even, we can respond to them differently. But we need to be mindful, right? So every day training the mind, having some meditation where I learn to train my attention, have a clear intention for the day, maintain that, and then start to test the hypothesis, get some wisdom about how we exist. Then we might start to recognize that what I bring to my mind has a lot to do with how I see the world. has a lot to do with how I experience the world. And can I bring my mind, to reality? And fundamentally, that's the other deeper hypothesis here is the more you live in reality, the less mental emotional suffering you have. I understand that where causes of suffering and happiness is, I'm going to suffer a lot less. I'm not going to blame you for making me mad. It just doesn't compute. Like, that just doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense in my mind. Like, I've tested this for 30 years, and I still haven't found someone who could make me mad. I found a lot of people who can trigger anger in me, but they can't create it. The anger's here, not there, right? So, well, maybe you have to check for yourself. So what a gift it is then to have some teachings that are applicable at any level of human being that one may be. And that's this is everything that we've talked about. Technically, there's nothing Buddhist about it. Physics were involved. Aristotle, virtue, philosophy, and others involved. Yeah, so there's nothing Buddhist. I can throw a Buddhist thing in there, and then I would say that we've been going through this for many lives, and that the habit and conditioning has been something that came with us when we were born, and we're working on it. You might free yourself and do that. But to this level that we're talking about, it's just human, just human. So, where I'd like to get to, the big offering on Losar, is an opportunity to do a purification practice, which is pretty Tibetan Buddhist, but presented in a way that I think humans can really benefit. And so as we move into that, today is Losar. Losar is the Tibetan word for New Year, Losar. And so year of the fire horse. Very interesting karmic energy or astrology, basically. These two elements together. Horse is a lot of movement, a lot of freedom, a lot of movement. It gets you out of stagnant, so there's a lot of movement, a lot of freedom, a lot of potential there. Fire makes it a little more interesting. Fire's intense, it's passionate, moves quickly. So if you were to put that together for a year to come, it means could be a lot of karma ripens quickly. Could be a lot of freedom from old habits. We can ripen things quicker. But it can also be intense. We can be reactive, a little impulsive. So the idea is to be grounded as much as possible. One of the things I looked up, it also means it could be some big societal change this year, which I think that kind of fits with what I've been reading about. Big shifts in that way this year. Could be. But also astrology, another form of karma. It's all potentials, all potentials, and it's like, that. So then the opportunity is, how do I want to engage in today, in this year, in this life that I get to have? What are the potentials I'd like to ripen? What's helpful? What's beneficial? And so generally I find it very helpful to start the year off with a purification practice, purifying the mind. And what are we purifying? A lot of negative, unwholesome habits and tendencies that have limited me. And so there's a practice, if you're interested in, purification. It's the 4 opponent powers of purification. I'll just go through them and then give a little explanation if you'd like to engage in it. Well, so we have a little altar here with food. It's on Losar. You have food on it. Flowers, carrot cake. Sorry, online. You'll have to just visualize. So, that'll be some snacks that are involved in this. So with the 4 opponent powers, basically, first one is what we call intelligent regret. We'll do it in a different. We'll do refuge. Refuge is sort of restoring a relationship with reality restoring a relationship in a sense of, if you're a Buddhist, you'd be restoring your relationship and the refuge of the Buddhist teaching. Your refuge might be a different faith or religious system that you're just really deepening that faith and that connection. So restoring a connection to, a guiding power, that's greater than yourselves. If you're a scientific materialist, the ultimate laws of nature that govern things, that give rise to the fact that bees pollinate flowers and we have a life. There is an intelligent design that gives meaning and stuff to evolution and how we exist. That is knowing, and we're a part of that. And our genes are capturing the genes of our parents and grandparents and theirs. We've evolved in certain ways, and that there's a force that kind of guides that. So even if you're an atheist, scientific materialist, there's power greater in yourself you can tap into. If you, so the first one is just taking a little time, what is that guiding power for you? What is that? Restoration, connection, that, we're not, nobody here is independent. Most of you know that, right? What's independent about you? Not your thoughts, not your words, not your body. Parents, grandparents gave you a body. Everything we know, we learn. Every words we use, we're taught. Every thought comes in our mind was due to the conditioning and all the experiences we've ever had. Everything's interdependent, So if we recognize that we're arising moment to moment, and there's nothing about us that's solid and unchanging, and there's nothing about us that's actually independent, and how you're feeling now and how you'll feel, and that everything that you get to experience is only in relation to others. And air and oxygen, water, food, all the things are very interdependent. Well, then that gives rise to, okay, so everything I think I do and all that is because of conditioning and what I've experienced, and anything I think about the world has a lot to do with my experiences with the world and what I've been taught and condition I've been ripened to and the culture I was raised in. Well, that's all inputs. And so, having some recognition of how we exist in this interdependent way is very valuable. And so, in the particular practice I'm going to offer is a visualization, an idea of the Buddha of compassion helping us purify our minds. So, the Buddha of compassion, right now, visual. So, that's the Buddha of compassion right there. That's a 1,000-armed lion. That's a lot of arms. Behind here is actually online on share. Oops, that's not what I'm going to share. Share. There we go. This version of the Buddha of Compassion for Chenrezig. So, if someone were to visualize Chenrezig for Buddha of Compassion, so how did he come into being? Well, because first off, I'm telling you about Chenrezig. If you didn't know about him, there's an image. And now there's a mind stream that's aware of a Buddha of compassion archetype, basically, of all the compassionate wisdom, all the energy of wisdom, and collectively given rise here because millions of people over centuries have been visualizing this Buddha, have been doing these prayers in this specific practice. And that collective energy has made it through all these centuries, is wound up in pixel form. And now is in your mind stream. And so when we bring like the Buddha of compassion to mind, what we might also be doing is bringing to mind all the energy, prayers, and practices of millions of people who've engaged in this practice so that they could be helpful to others. Collectively in one symbol. And that's a pretty powerful force. And then if we recite a mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the mantra of Buddha compassion, even those words, well, they had to be taught, they had to be taught, they had to be passed down through centuries and lineages and said, recited. They have prayer wheels all over the world with that mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And so when I'm saying Om Mani Padme Hum, I'm not saying it independently, separately, am I? It's literally independence upon the millions of other people who have said this mantra of visualizing this Buddha. We're in practice with millions of people over centuries saying the words that have echoed through time, and with the motivation to be compassionate, to reduce suffering, to purify, and to be helpful. All of that force being visualized with the Buddha of compassion there. So it's nice to take a moment and realize that, it's not that we need to believe anything, we need to make sense of things. If I'm envisioning an image, which, by the way, great Indian type image, it's an archetype of the collective energy and wisdom of everyone who's ever engaged in this practice. All that collective energy available. Now we bring that to mind. Have a faith of some sort that we belong, that we are good, that it can be helpful, purify. Then we develop an intelligent regret. That's the next opponent power. We need to get done by 7:30, so I'm working on it. uh, and so intelligent regret is not shame. Intelligent regret is actually wisdom. It's looking at some things in our lives that we've done that we don't feel good about. And it's learning that's not how I want to live. So it's not shame. It's not, I'm a bad person. It's quite the opposite. It's piercingly understanding, intelligently gaining wisdom of causes of suffering and clarifying that that's not how I want to live anymore. Intelligent regret, meaning I understand how that harms myself and others and not the way I want to live. Wisdom comes from that. So with that power of wisdom, of that intelligent regret, we cultivate that just limits me. And that's what I get to work on, changing that regret. And then the next opponent power is resolve. Resolve is I'm making a commitment to avoid that type of behavior as best I can, for as long as I can, making a commitment. From this moment forward, I'm going to do my best to avoid this non-virtue and engage in virtue. Just going to make this resolve. I visualize like drawing a line in the sand or sometimes a stake in the ground. Like, this moment on, I'm holding tough. Maybe it lasts a day. Sometimes it lasts a long time, but it's just like, I'm resolving. I'm going to do my best to do this. And so there's the restoration, the refuge, the intelligent regret, the resolve to avoid that. And then a remedial action, like something virtuous, to offset, to engage in virtue and to ripen virtue in our minds. And so if we understand our mind stream has a lot of habits and tendencies that have been negative. They've arisen out of our desire to be okay, and we have coping mechanisms that haven't been very useful. But we also get to develop new ones. So neural pathways, we get to create new neural pathways in our brain, new connections. We actually get to rewire ourselves. So this is a process of rewiring. And so in this purification then is, this remedial action of doing something wholesome. It's a lot like going to Catholic confession, right? Go do 10 Hail Marys, Our Father, right? You confess something, you get it out in the open. It's not how I want to be, and you get something. And so the remedial action, we can engage in is we'll do some prayers for all sentient beings. Om Mani Padme Hum, not a long mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's the mantra of the Buddha of compassion. We can do it for Mala's worth, and with the aspiration that all beings, be free of suffering. So we'll visualize the Buddha. We'll establish this connection to being open to the practice, as simple as that. We'll do a little time with some intelligent regret. We'll make a resolve, do some mantras, and then a purification of body, speech, and mind. How's that sound? Good with it? Good. Online, how we doing? All right.
Question, John.
I have a quick question.
You describe what the words maybe on the translate to.
Sure, to put the jewel in the lotus, which doesn't really tell you much, but is actually the complete path to enlightenment, to combine the method of compassion with wisdom in pure unification. It's the two accumulations of complete Buddhahood. Yeah. Well, I actually knew that answer. And then, of course, we can do a whole dissertation on what each of the 6 syllables and what they relate to. And then, yeah, anyway, that's the straightforward answer. Okay, so let's just take a moment to just settle in, take a few breaths. Just no expectations, just relax and breathe. With each exhale, just let go, release, get comfortable. I invite you to just open up your hearts and minds and to visualize collective compassion, aspirations and prayers of all others, giving rise to the Buddha of compassion in the space in front of you. Forearm, Chenrezig, is the image on the TV or on the screen. Who is the embodiment of all the infinite Buddhist compassionate wisdom. He sits on a lotus and moonseed. His body is in the nature, pure light, youthful and decorated with magnificent jewel ornaments. He has one face and 4 arms. His first 2 hands are his heart, palms together, holding a wish-fulfilling gem. On his right, a 3rd hand holds a crystal rosary, reminding you to recite mantras symbolizing wisdom. On his left, 4th hand holds a white lotus, which represents compassion. So I invite you now just to take a little time to bring to mind even just a radiant white light of pure compassion arising from countless others' prayers over centuries for people to be free of suffering, now available in the space in front of us. And even if you're more comfortable with even visualizing Jesus or another spiritual being that you have a connection with, just bring on present, now arising due to the efforts and kindness of countless others. In the symbolism, we're just bringing to mind the healing prayers, efforts, activities of so many people over thousands of years. Take a moment to experience feeling loved and cared for, completely accepted. Now in the presence of Chenrezig, knowing we are completely accepted, loved, and cared for, and the collective efforts of so many here to help us purify our minds and our hearts, help us receive, water and nourish blessings of virtue, cultivating the qualities we'd like to cultivate in our lives. We now have all this support available to us. I invite you to bring to mind now just a couple of things that you don't feel good about that you've engaged in. And let's develop an intelligent regret, meaning let's just look at them and recognize, just be clear to ourselves the harm that these types of activities have done to ourselves and others. And recognize, gain some wisdom. That's not the path for us. It's not how we want to live. And recognize how it limits us from being the people we want to be. A moment, just a couple of things could be large or small. And allow some intelligent wisdom of regret to arise. I invite you to take a moment to just kind of recognize maybe what condition you're in that gave rise to that activity. Were you feeling insecure? Were you in fear? Were you caught up in some kind of craving? Were you just mindless and reactive without paying attention? It's nice to know what condition we're in when we act out in a particular way we don't feel good about, just to gain some insight how to take care of ourselves. Recognizing that these habits and tendencies we didn't choose to do, it's really conditioning habits, us trying to find some way to be happy. It's reflective of many other things we've done in the past that we regret. It's just not how we want to live anymore. So now I invite you to set a firm resolve, that from this moment forward, you're going to do your best to be aware of the unwholesome actions that really undermine the person you want to be. Set a firm resolve that from this moment forward, you will do your best to resist them as best you can. Making this clear commitment to yourself and to your spiritual mentor, Chenrezig, right here in the space. Just a firm resolve, you'll do your best to resist for as long as you possibly can, knowing it is a process. Now choosing to do our best to purify our minds so we can be helpful to others, to ourselves in ways that are truly meaningful, discovering our value. I invite you to join me in reciting the 6-syllable mantra, the Buddha of Compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum, but really with the motivation of helping yourself and others be free of suffering. And we will put this aspiration into the world with each mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om money, baby, oh, 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 baby, oh, money, 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 baby. Oh, money, baby, hold on, 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 money, baby, hold oh, money, baby, hold on, 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 money, baby, hold oh, money, baby, oh, money, oh, money, oh, oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, oh, money, baby, 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 oh, money, baby. Oh, money, baby, 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 oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, no, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, money, baby, oh, baby, oh, money, 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 baby, oh. These opponent powers. Visualize that from Chenrezig's forehead, wisdom, white light, and nectar radiate and dissolve into your forehead, purifying all negative karma and obstacles concerning your body. The blessings of Chenrezig's body enter your body. So now a brilliant white light and nectar coming into your forehead. Then from the crown of your head, slowly, methodically oozing down through the entirety of your body, down to your feet. This wisdom, white light, and nectar purify all unwholesome actions ever engaged in with your body. Now from Chenrezig's throat, wisdom, red light, and nectar radiate and dissolves into your throat, purifying all the negative karma and obstacles concerning your speech. The blessings of Chenrezig's speech enter your speech. And now this brilliant red light and nectar comes right into your throat, and this time goes right down to your feet and slowly and methodically fills the entirety of your body, purifying and blessing your speech. Now from Chenrezig's heart center, wisdom blue light and nectar radiates and dissolves into your heart, purifying all negative karma and obstacles concerning your mind. The blessings of Chenrezig's mind enter yours. And so now this brilliant blue light and nectar comes right into your heart. And this time it instantaneously just explodes through the entirety of your being, this constant flow of blue light and nectar, purifying and blessing your mind, purifying all negativities, receiving the blessing. Now from Chenrezig's three places, forehead, throat, and heart center. White, red, and blue wisdom light and nectar radiate and dissolve into your three places. Your body is filled with wisdom light and nectar, purifying all negative karma and obstacles concerning your body, speech, and mind. Blessings of Chenrezig's body, speech, and mind are received by you. So now simultaneously white, red, and blue, wisdom, light, and nectar streaming into your body, purifying all unwholesome actions, moving obstacles and blessing in body, speech, and mind. Take a moment to know that you have received these blessings, this purification, and the efforts of countless others we've never met is being realized within us, their hopes and their aspirations for us, now received by you. Yeah. Turning awareness here. Let's dedicate this practice for the benefit of others, that it continues on, for our own continued spiritual growth. So let us dedicate any and all benefit from our time together and all the virtues throughout our lives. Let us dedicate it for the benefit of all beings. May our efforts in virtue, our efforts in understanding, the goodness in our hearts shine into the world. May our collective efforts find their way into the world to relieve the suffering of others, to create the conditions for them to discover their worth, their value, their opportunities for freedom. And let us also dedicate our time together here and throughout our lives of virtue for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may continue to ripen the seeds of virtue, wisdom, and of the skill of mindfulness, to bring those two together so we can recognize our own value and be of greatest benefit to all. Let's dedicate. Just bring your awareness forward. Eventually feel a little lighter. So valuable to remember that we have a life because of people we've never met. Every few times a year, I get to do a retreat at the Mercy Center in Sacramento, outside Sacramento. Auburn, California. I was going blank for a minute. Sisters of Mercy. And they always tell you, the nuns, always praying for you. And then a lot of people, well, I don't know if I believe in prayer. What if you're the answer to their prayers? And it's because of their prayers and efforts that others have the opportunity to have places to do retreat, places to understand. It's kind of nice to know you're the answer to other people's prayers. Yeah. We are the result of the efforts of countless others. Conditioning people I never met did things. There's a whole world of recovery. Yeah, I mean, recovery world, substance free for 41 years, but the whole AA program started with a guy who made a phone call in a hotel lobby, 1935. The guy picked up a phone in a hotel lobby to ask if there was some alcoholic he could help. One phone call, one person reaching out to help another person. Started what would become Alcoholics Anonymous. It has changed millions of lives, restored families, created a whole world of recovery, conditions, and all the substance use treatments available now. One conversation because somebody picked up a phone call. Think about your conversations. You have a conversation. You have no idea how many people it touches. Maybe some of you had an experience where somebody came back and said, remember you said this one thing to me. How helpful it was. So there's all these people who did all these things centuries ago that we don't know anything about. That contribute to life we have today. I mean, if that guy didn't make that phone call, that wouldn't be sitting here doing that. That's for sure. Be doing 20 to life somewhere. So, yeah, life changes because of others and conditions that are available. So when we do a visualization or a prayer or something, remember that even those words that came from others, everything we have came from others. And what we offer goes to others. We'll have a purpose. And so it's nice to begin the new year with that. It means to purify, see a little blessing, a little inspiration. And it's a good practice, I think, throughout the year. At the end of the day, to just take a few moments to recognize what you didn't do very well, and recognize that's not how you want to live. Make a commitment to make healthier choices. We start rewiring our whole system there. So I hope you found that helpful. So we're actually at 7:33. So any questions, curiosities before we wrap things up here? Everybody just all blissed out. Okay, well, that's a good start to the year. All right, well, thank you all so much. Those of you online, such a joy to have such a full house there online. And all those here, those of you here, we'll have a few blessed snacks afterwards. And those of you online, visualize. So my teacher used to tell me when I was on my stretch of fasting, they're all eating and they'd say, Chapella, visualize. I was like, yeah, that's not fun. All right. Please be well. Take good care of yourselves. Good care of those around you.
Om Tare Du Tare Du Re So Ha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re So Ha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re So Ha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re So